Hi, we're here for another edition of Talking Tennis, but today's a bit special because we are meeting in person for the first time. How are you, Jethro? Nice to meet you, by the way.
Oh, nice to meet you officially.
Nice to meet you too, Hanya. So, I guess we're talking tennis, so I guess we better get to it. What's been happening in Sofia this week? What have I been missing?
Well, the young guns are kind of coming through, really. I think it's Sinner, Musetti and Rune up in the semi-finals, which is very exciting.
People are getting very excited about Sinner at the moment, right? But you've been excited about him for a long time, Hanya. What is it about Sinner and his game that appeals to you?
As we were talking earlier, I think he's pretty underrated compared to what he's offering on court. I think his movement across court is hugely underrated. His backhand is one of the best on tour. He needs to get more hype than what
you're
he's
here.
getting.
You're here to give it for him, right?
I hope so.
How do you feel about this Alcaraz? So obviously Alcaraz and Sinner have been playing amazing recently, and especially at the US Open with that epic. But it's always Alcaraz that gets the hype and not Sinner. How do you feel about that?
I usually like to compare, when I compare them both, I think Alcaraz is more fire and Sinner is more ice, and that's why Alcaraz is getting more hype. But I feel like they complete each other on the field, and that's why, again, their matches are very long and very interesting to watch. It's because, in my opinion, I think that Alcaraz likes to attack his opponent's backhand, and that's Sinner's strength. So there has to be a lot of problem solving going on in the matches, and that's why it takes longer than normal, and that's why they're very exciting. But I still think that Sinner gets less hype than he deserves.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Sinner?
Yeah, I agree with Hanya. To be honest, I think he's absolutely amazing. His rivalry with Alcaraz is going to be hopefully the new Federer, the new Djokovic Nadal, the new Federer Nadal. Right?
There's been a lot of talk this week, and we're just going to randomly talk about topics. We'll probably come back to Sinner again shortly. There's been some talk this week that regarding the Federer, let's say, I think things have calmed down a bit since the Federer retirement and that epic weekend we had last weekend. But there's been some sort of Twitter chatter about maybe we're a bit too focused. People like me, for example, are making it worse perhaps by being obsessed with this Federer-Nadal rivalry, and we're ignoring other rivalries that he had. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do agree. We need Owen here because Owen is a huge fan of the other two rivalries.
Yes, he is. I know.
But yeah, I do think that's very fair. I think Nadal Federer is so iconic, but I think Djokovic gets a huge amount of snubbing when it comes to this stuff. Because he pushed Nadal and Federer just as much as they push each other.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's so in love with the Nadal Federer rivalry, and I don't blame people for not being like that. But yeah, I think due credit should go to Djokovic, and I really enjoyed the Federer and Murray rivalry as well. Actually, it was quite close. It was like 14 wins to Federer, 11 wins to Murray, and they had really good matches. Actually.
The problem Murray, though, I think had is he didn't have so many big wins. I mean, I know he won the Olympics, the Olympic gold in 2012, but most of the slam meetings between the two would go the way of the Swiss.
Yeah.
My little addition to what you said, I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, Jethro, but I would also think that one of the reasons maybe is what comes first. You know, it's a bit like arriving into a classroom and you're joining the second year. Well, friendships have already emerged, rivalries have emerged, if you like, in tennis. And I do think even just this love that Wimbledon in particular has for Federer and to a lesser extent Nadal. Djokovic is the third dude that appears on the horizon in sort of 07, 08, but not really as a force until 2011, by which stage we've had a 6-year rivalry already developed, if you like.
Yeah,
I think Djokovic's main problem is his timing, like when he came into the field. Because we already had two kings and two people we adore, and the fans were already divided between two, and he just came and tried to
he broke it up. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think also because Federer was so dominant for so long that finally Nadal was there and he beat him at Wimbledon and LA, and then Djokovic won Australian Open in 2008 as well. And then it was still kind of Nadal, Federer and Djokovic just behind them, and then 2011 onwards. It's kind of all been Djokovic. I would like to see Nadal's been there as well, but Federer's won a lot less slams in that sort of 10, 12 year period. And Djokovic kind of took over really.
Yeah, and that's also partly for me that it's like, for example, back to Sinner and Alcaraz to some extent. This rivalry is getting quite exciting, even if it's super early doors. But it's exciting because we think Alcaraz may be the better player, but then we sort of had Sinner was around for a year or two, and then Alcaraz comes along. And
I think Alcaraz is the more exceptional player.
I'll let you elaborate a second, but just in terms of the rivalry, then suddenly Sinner starts winning some of these. Like this summer, I think he won 2 in a row. Doesn't sound like a lot, but they were fairly significant. One was Wimbledon, of course, and you start to think, oh, maybe we've got to reevaluate this, and maybe, and then suddenly Alcaraz goes and wins that epic 5-set match and I think I've said epic about 17 times already. It was epic, and then what we're seeing with this, and we might go and see Sinner go on a run of 5 in a row or whatever, and then suddenly Alcaraz breaks it, which is what I'm doing, by the way, as I say this, I'm thinking of Federer and Nadal. The Djokovic rivalry with Federer was fairly one-way traffic for the best part of the decade.
Yeah, and I guess they're on different ends of the older generation scale as well. Federer's obviously 41 now, and he's now retired. Djokovic.
Well, exactly.
But I've seen a bit of Djokovic this week, and he looks fresh as a daisy. I mean, and that's kind of been the way it's been. Like Federer can gracefully move about and strike the ball really well and beat most players in the world, but Djokovic has looked fit all his career, really.
Well, also, of course, Federer's being 5 years older.
Exactly.
Now, I know, and you understandably said, don't diss my Alcaraz, and diss my Sinner, and of course you're completely right. But we spoke a bit about, Sinner obviously not getting some of the attention, partly because of his on-court persona and maybe 1 or 2 styles of play. You're a fan of Sinner's, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's from Italy, but he doesn't seem to have this same sort of Italian temperament, if you like.
Yeah.
But you like his game, right?
Yeah. I think he's consistent for his level. I think his mentality is more what I'm a fan of. He really
you like this when he with the racket.
That's like the most we're gonna get.
I like it.
He is getting more animated though, which I like. But he's not going over the top.
You can never tell what's going on in his mind, and he never loses his temper when things don't go his way, which is good to see.
That match with Kyrgios in Miami, Kyrgios lost the plot. I mean, how many times has he done that, obviously? But he lost the plot against Sinner and got a game penalty, and Sinner literally just sat there with a towel on his leg. And just like his face just stayed stoic.
Yeah,
he did not.
He's my favorite player to be with Kyrgios too.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not a big Tsitsipas fan because I couldn't bear that much in that Wimbledon. It was bad enough as a neutral.
Do you play tennis, by the way, Jethro?
I used to. I'm trying to get back into it, but I need a hitting partner.
Yeah.
Do you want to move back to England?
Okay, I'll let you know. So, I mean, for me, Sinner sort of, for me, came onto the sort of firm radar. I mean, he was on the tennis radar. I think it was probably 2020. I remember him pushing Rafa at that year's French Open more than anyone else. Probably pushed him, even Djokovic in the final. And it's like, okay, this guy is... And then, sort of for the next 18 months, I remember him getting crushed by Tsitsipas in Australia this year.
I was surprised by that.
And me too. I was surprised by the levels from both players that day. And I just thought, maybe, because we're quick to judge, and then suddenly I'm judging, I'm thinking, maybe Sinner's not all he's cracked up to be. And at that time, the juggernaut that is Alcaraz was really starting to hit form, if you like. And I think he won in Rio this year, for example. But it was great then at Wimbledon, it was like, okay, neither are probably glass court players, and both of them, I imagine, will take a while before they start getting to semis and finals at Wimbledon. I mean, who knows, could even be next year. But then they're meeting in I think it was the 4th round, and I still probably favoured Alcaraz that day. But you didn't. Why did you think Sinner was going to win that match?
I think, like, with these two specifically, it's not about the best forehand or backhand. It's about their endurance during the match and how long they're going to maintain their level throughout the 5 sets. I think throughout the tournament, I favored Sinner's, like, laid back mentality, and that's why I thought he was gonna win this match.
Okay. What were your thoughts going into that match?
I didn't have a clue, to be honest. I watched Queens last year and Sinner turned up, and I was quite big on the Sinner hype. Not early doors, but like 2020 French Open when he beat Zverev, and like I'd been watching for a while, and I was really excited about what I'd seen. And then he turned up to Queens, and I thought he'd do quite well, and then Draper beat him in straight sets. And by this point, Draper's quite well established now as like a top 50, top 60 kind of player. But at this point, you know, he was still this kind of up and coming Brit who was cool, but no one really knew what to expect. And he beat Sinner in straight sets, and I was like, God, Sinner really isn't good on the grass. And still hadn't won a match before Wimbledon this year on grass, and then, you know, beat Alcaraz in 4, never really like losing, and then went 2 sets up against Djokovic. So I think he's figured it out quite quickly.
By the way, I have a completely random question that maybe neither of you know. It's just crossed my mind. Does anyone know how Maria Sakkari did today? She's due on court.
Yeah, she won 7-5, 6-2.
Okay. Anyway, she
only
won.
because I saw tweets saying.
Someone
Look at the screenshot she's got there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Sorry, we're just having a look at a screenshot of is that Federer on the shoulders. So you were at the Labour Cup, or at least you were there for the Thursday practice, right? Yeah. And how was that?
It was great. Like I managed to see the Big Four in action.
Big Four, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, the doubles.
They all practiced together for about 10 minutes, which was great to watch. The rest of the session was just, like, people came for these 10 minutes and then left, basically. But it was fun.
That's worth 20 quid, definitely.
Yeah,
I would have done
yeah,
it.
definitely.
What were your thoughts on obviously last Friday in particular? Did it surprise you how emotional Federer was afterwards?
No, I was kind of expecting that, to be honest. He's always been very good at showing his emotions and not kind of keeping
Once the match finishes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, on court he's he's Sinner basically. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised at how much Nadal was.
Yeah, that surprised me more than Federer crying, to be honest.
Like I expected him to be emotional.
Not that emotional.
Yeah, and like Djokovic was really emotional as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just amazing. Yeah. Unforgettable.
Anyway, I had a little diversion to Maria Sakkari. Let's talk a little bit about the women's side. So I've barely been watching any tennis this week. So what have I missed? We've obviously had tournaments elsewhere. I think there's one in Korea. Am I right this week?
Seoul. It's the ATP this week, WTA last week.
Right. Okay.
They're in Palma.
Right.
Which is clay, back to the clay. Don't know why.
What are we doing back on?
I know, and it's the kind of draw you look at and you see Sakkari as top seed and like, if she doesn't win this tournament, what tournament is she ever going to win?
Yeah.
And she's struggled to the semi-final. I think she's the final.
Okay.
So, but she's not. I don't think she's looked very convincing.
Where's Ons Jabeur, by the way? I haven't seen her since New York.
I don't know.
Sounds like we know her, by the way. It's like, is she coming today or
when's she popping around?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ons has just taken a break, I guess. But Iga's the same, right? Iga's not really played since New York, I don't think.
I mean, it's an interesting time of the year. I think they know the off season's not too far away as well, and they want to probably ease themselves this last bit of the
I don't
season.
think she's playing anything next week.
No, I've been trying to find out when she's back on court again, so we can talk about her again.
I don't think Osaka's playing for the rest of the year.
Right. Okay. So Osaka's obviously not going to be the
Is
double champ.
Raducanu playing next week? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. She had a really good week.
People are quite big on Raducanu, right? At the moment.
Yeah, I think she looked. I watched her against Magdalena Net the other day, and she was amazing.
Okay.
Kind of like US Open 2021.
Right, yeah. People are sort of bigging up her coach as well, suggesting that maybe she's got some stability now. I remember an interview she gave, I think maybe in her press conference in New York, where she sort of intimated that she wasn't sure where the direction of in terms of the coach, etc. But seems like that's settled for now at least. And so is her tennis, which is exciting.
It's just her fitness that needs work now.
But that's fixable at that age. If she was 38, I'd be more concerned than 18, if you like. But that's fixable, so onwards and upwards for Emma. What's else been going on? I see that Casper Ruud has qualified for the end of year finals.
Speaking
Casper?
I like him a lot. I mostly.
Did you see him speak
I
Spanish,
mostly,
by the way?
Yes, that was the most awkward, ridiculous
Yeah, I
video.
know.
It was so funny.
I know.
No, I am a fan of Casper, but it's mostly to wind Scott up. Because Scott hates the idea of him winning a slam or coming up one, so I just love winding him up about it.
I've got something to say at this point. I've thought of something this year regarding some of the rivalries, but particularly in terms of fans, particularly of course we see it a bit more toxic on the men's side. I think there is an element of wanting to be right. So let's just say at one point you thought, oh, I think Djokovic is better than Nadal, or I thought Nadal is better, whatever you think. And you mentioning there with Casper Ruud, I think after a while, at the beginning it's sort of a joke, but I'm with Scott, I'm not sure that he will win a slam. And then after a while, and you can address
He might not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But after a while, you sort of pin your not your hope, but you pin your reputation on it. And suddenly you're watching Casper Ruud in a major final, you're thinking, he can't win today because otherwise I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that this
I think that's right.
does get involved a bit.
I mean, it all started. I mean, I always really liked Casper. To be fair, like he's got a really nice, sort of warm, humble personality.
Yeah.
He's really sweet.
Yeah.
And I love his forehand. And like watching him in recent weeks, like okay, he lost to Nishioka yesterday, which wasn't great, but. Like the way he's improved his game with the serve getting really like quite a big weapon now. The backhand's 10 times better. It's really good, and like this all started really with me when he was in the Miami final against Alcaraz. And before the match, I just tweeted Casper is going to win the French Open this year. Just had a feeling.
Okay.
And then.
Reached the final.
And the draw opened up.
The draw did open up, and then he went 2-1 down against Sonigo in like the third round. I was like, oh god, here we go. And then he played so well for the rest of the match. Then he beat Rune and he beat Cilic and got the final, and he got obliterated. But who hasn't been obliterated by Nadal, the French Open?
Yeah, what was it he said afterwards? He killed me, or I'm another victim, I think.
Yeah.
But he seemed to maybe suffer a bit more with either nerves or anxiety or some kind of intimidation that day, more than I think in New York. I think in New York he performed, albeit
well.
for 5 minutes he had an off moment.
It's that tie break sealed
Exactly.
the match. It's such a shame because that could have been a 5-set classic.
What are your thoughts on Casper Ruud?
I like him too. Like first time I met Scott at Wimbledon, I just had my selfie with Casper Ruud, and he was like,
You got the selfie influence.
yeah.
He looks
and
really bad in that picture, doesn't he? Was that
Which one?
the one with Casper?
I have two with Casper.
One's really bad.
One is really bad and one is
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
So has Casper been in touch about not posting the bad ones on social media?
No, I just deleted that one. We just focus on the
Okay,
good
that's
one.
gone. That's
Yeah.
gone.
And Scott was the first question he asked me was he nice? I was like, yeah, he was nice. Why wouldn't he be nice? Yeah,
Scott's
I
got a
think-
very strong
yeah.
vendetta.
Right, so let's
I
address
think
the
he's-
Scott
yeah.
vendetta against
Let's
Casper
just talk about Scott. Let's just talk
Yeah.
about Scott.
So Scott really dislikes Casper Ruud. Is it because Scott is a bad person and Casper Ruud's a good person, or what's?
It's because Casper Ruud is not anti-Murray.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think he truly dislikes him. I think
Yeah.
he plays up to it, but
Yeah.
I think it's probably something to do with the fact that obviously Andy struggled to win as much as he probably could have done in another era because he had these three absolute legends, up against him all the time. And now that that's all breaking up a bit, you get players like Casper Ruud who could win a slam in this era, and he's like prime Andy would smoke Casper Ruud.
Okay,
So,
question
I guess.
for you both, and I just want a yes or no, and then we'll have a little chat about him. Hanya, yes or no? Dominic Thiem will win a slam again at some point in his career.
You're asking me disappointed of him. It's gonna kill me.
Just
No, you can answer.
So
honestly.
well, I
I'm
think we know
interested.
the answer is no. Then I'm going no as well.
Okay.
Are we wrong?
I honestly I can't give an answer. I think he can, but will he is another question.
Let me give you something to be optimistic about. I thought, despite going out in the first round to PCB, I think it was in New York, I saw some very promising signs that day against one of the players that was in best form on the tour at that point. I mean, I think PCB had just won in Canada like a few weeks before and went into that US Open as many people were suggesting, good run for PCB, it didn't work out in the end. But I think it was 4 sets that day, and I think he lost the first 2, but it was super close. And I'm thinking, right now, I think these two are fairly much on that particular day very similar. There was a couple of key moments for PCB at the beginning of the match that I think went his way.
Yeah, team was a break up in the first set and he lost it. Just a bad service game, and that was kind of, I think it was 7-5.
But he won the third set, and I thought, oh, hang on a second, we might be on for a match. But either way, I came away from that match more positive than negative for Dominic Thiem. That's something to hang on to. What's been going on in the last 2 or 3 weeks with him? He's been playing and winning a couple of matches.
So latest team news, he got to the final of the Rennes Challenger in France. Mm-hmm. Really grim, hot indoor conditions, and lost the umber quite drastically. But was a positive week. He had the hardest side of the draw. Had to beat Gaston, who, although he's never lost to Gaston, it's still a horrible matchup because Gaston just drops shots all the time and the team just hates it. Mm-hmm. But he always finds a way. And Tel Aviv, he won his first match against Laszlo Gera, who's really super solid player. Yeah. I've got a lot of respect for Gera. Like, I know he lost both his parents quite soon after each other, and then went on to win his first ever title quite soon after. And I think he's just a really nice guy. So I've got, and I think he's quite an underrated player. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't expecting Thiem to struggle as much. Like, he had to win in like the final set, tie break or something like that. But he played well when he needed to, and then he came up against Cilic, and he really could have won that. He had break points when he was holding serve fine in the third set, and he had break points.
But this is progress. I mean, PCB, he could have won another set, let's say. He could even, who knows, on another day won the match. Again, with Cilic is a good example. But these are top 20 players. These are major winners.
Cilic's form has been amazing.
Exactly. So he's now competing with them. A year ago, he wasn't even competing with them. He was, losing to much worse players.
A year ago, he was still injured. I'm talking 2 months ago, he was on the Challenger circuit and he couldn't win a match.
Right, exactly.
And now he's nearly beating top 20 players who are in good form. It's like the improvements are insane. Like, give him a year, like there's no.
Oh, he'll be winning 3 slams next year.
He's winning. He's getting a Canada Slam next year for sure. But like, he'll be competing up at the top again very soon.
I'll bring it to you in a second, Hanya. But Jethro, what is different to Dominic Thiem today compared to, say, 2 years ago when he was tearing it up?
You know what? I think the wrist is fine. There's no physical issues going on. It's all about, and like, he used to play a lot of matches. And he used to win a lot as well, so he was playing a lot of tournaments, he was winning a lot of matches, and like, he would just crush every ball, forehand and backhand, and obviously he works the slice into his game really well. And so he was just so confident facing anyone, doing anything on court. Like, you see the way he played against like Djokovic at the ATP finals and tournaments. Djokovic is amazing at, and he just beat him. He's beaten him twice there. Yeah. And like, he was just so confident, and it's just the confidence. And like, I've watched practice videos, he's absolutely destroying the ball. But then he goes out on court and the power just isn't quite there. It comes out now and again, like he hits some amazing backhands this week, but I think it's all a mental thing, and the more he plays, the better it's going to get. So like, even Australia, he might get some good wins there.
It was probably a good idea to go to the Challenger Tour in the end, then I think.
Definitely, I think you should probably play there over the Christmas break, but
I know,
the off season as well.
Dominic Thiem, any additional thoughts?
He's a legend.
No, I just, like, the only thing I have on him is I hope he does make, like, I would love for him to come back and win something. It doesn't have to be a major, just come back and win anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, on that topic, Andy Murray as well. It would be nice to see. I was talking with Scott earlier this week about Murray and what can we expect in this sort of closing years, if you like, of his career. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. When I say I hope he doesn't mind, I mean Scott.
I hope Claire doesn't hear you. She's somewhere in London. She's going to come running to you.
Okay. So, but what would be great is if he was to go on an amazing run at a slam, maybe even win a 500 at Queens or something like that. I think it might have been Claire or somebody posted a question this week saying what would be a realistic but also a cool tournament for him to win if it wasn't a slam. And Queens is doable, I think. If he could just avoid Berrettini, perhaps he would. But even then, I mean, he was very close to beating Berrettini this year in some grass court. Stuttgart. Yeah. Do you like Andy Murray?
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Yeah, he's great.
I started to like him even more this season when I started seeing him in action, and he seems like a really nice guy. So.
I think one of the nice things about popcorn tennis is obviously we all talk about tennis every day, and I think a lot of us have grown a big appreciation of other players that others are interested in. So like, I always liked Murray, but like I find myself rooting for him more now that I've met Scott and Claire because they are so passionate. And I met loads of their like Murray fan friends at Wimbledon this year, and they're all so nice. And you know, it seems like a really fun kind of community.
Did you watch his match live against Isner?
No, that was only Scott, Isabella, and Jack got the high prestigious invites to that. But I watched it at home.
Yeah.
It was a good match actually.
It was. Also could have gone either way. I mean, it went 4 sets. But once Andy Murray lost his serve, I think it was in the 4th. It was like,
it was over. Isner played ridiculously well. Like that's one of his best performances for a while. I think. Shame happening against Andy. But.
Well, what have we not talked about? Let's talk about women's tennis again.
Yes.
We did Sakkari, tick. Hopefully, again with Sakkari, it's actually a bit for me. It's like I think she's going to come good again, so I'm on that train and I've got to stick on it, if you like. And so I'm a fan of hers, and hopefully she can pick up a title and get back on the train, so to speak, soon. Iga, like Ons, we've sort of lost her for a little while. It seems that in terms of the tour, she's having a well-earned break. It would seem. We've got the WTA finals coming up, which is going to be in Texas, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Any thoughts on the women's game in general and going into that? I mean, Iga will obviously be the favourite, but you've got the round robin scenario, a bit like with the ATP, and it can be a bit random. Where's Paula Badosa, by the way? What's happened to her this year?
It's really odd. I mean, I remember watching her run at Indian Wells last year, and I was like, oh my god, she's good. And she got to world number 3, and I was like, yeah, she's going to be really, really solid on the WTA tour, and she's really fallen away.
Some people were saying she'll be year-end number 1 this year, and
I mean, at the start of the year, I wouldn't have been surprised to hear that. I think she did okay at the Australian Open, then lost to, I think it was Danielle Collins, maybe. I can't remember.
Could well have been lots of people lost to her.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's just not hitting with the same venom and consistency that she did so well last year. And like, there's a lot of them struggling in the top 10.
Yeah, there's lots of players that are just still there, and it's like, but she hasn't won for a long time, or she's not really playing that well, but they sort of managed to hold their ranking for one reason or another. But I think now, obviously, Ons is number 2 in the world, but it took her a while to get to number 2, despite playing, with the exception of the French Open, unbelievably for 6 months.
Yeah.
She would have gone there faster if
Wimbledon. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and like Djokovic wouldn't be 7th.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, all the rankings are a bit of a mess at the moment, to be honest.
Djokovic, have you been watching him this week?
No, although Matt on one of our group chats was texting us point by point almost the other night. So
he's a fan, is he?
Big fan, yeah, Serbian. So I've been getting good info from him. Sounds like he's playing really well, and like Pospisil pushed him yesterday, which is nice to see Pospisil still playing well. Like I remember he made the Wimbledon quarterfinals. God, it was 2014 or like it was years ago. And
those two have got a bromance, haven't they? In a way. Unlike a couple of players I saw have a little altercation at the net this week.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Hilarious.
Do you know what we're referring to, by the way? Andreev?
It was Andreev and Mute.
Yeah.
And Mute is the most irritating human being on the
Tell Hanya, who's not seen the footage yet, what happened at the net.
Well, I don't know what happened in the build-up, but I can only imagine Mute was being a nuisance. Yeah, Mute, exactly. Like he's just a nutcase. And Andreev, like when they shook hands, it was quite an aggressive handshake, and then Andreev kind of like shoulder barged him a bit, and then Mute like shoved him, and like I think it would have gotten quite physical if the umpire didn't step in straight away because they were about to square up properly.
Someone took some footage this week, and it's been the one that's done the rounds, and I apologise for not citing you right now, but I did reach out to him and spoke to him briefly, and I said, were you there? And he said, yeah. And I've seen that his Twitter following has gone, let's say, sevenfold this week, and understandably so, because he's the guy who got the footage, and that's good for him. But it is kind of funny, but obviously for others it's a bit unsavoury.
Yes.
But I mean, that's how it is.
I think, I mean, if it's like a two-way thing and no one gets hurt, then I'm okay with it. If it's one person being,
I mean, I think there's a level of shithousery, I think is the in word at the moment, and that's okay. It's unfortunately if you're whacking your racket against an umpire's chair or throwing your racket and it's in the direction of a ball boy, whether you intend it or not, that's a different level, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. When it's a bit of like bit of tension,
bit of argy-bargy.
I mean, yeah, it's a good thing then umpire stepped in because that did look like it was going to get quite.
Yeah, right. It was like a referee stepping in. Oh yeah. So Hanya, you're not seeing it, but hopefully we've painted a bit of a picture for you.
Yeah, I mean it was. Yeah, like it's one of those things you see on YouTube like 10 years later, like crazy tennis fight, and like, oh, nearly got bad, but nothing really happened in the end. But I think there was a bit of I think Andre posted this story about Mute saying to meet him by the exit. And
I heard about this, and then he wasn't there, or then he was, but there was security around him. Yeah, all handbags and stuff like that.
All handbags.
Listen, we did touch on her earlier, but pretty much skated over, but I do want to talk about her now. Naomi Osaka, I think one of you said she's not going to be playing for the rest of the year.
Don't think so.
Okay.
It was me, yes.
Yeah, so she's not going to be playing for the rest of the year. What are we thinking of Osaka? Is she going to be back in Australia and tearing up again like she was 2 years ago? I'm for one, for example, I've already said my thoughts on Team. In a way, and I don't think he'll ever win a major again. But if you ask me the same question about Osaka, I would say yes, because it's still there. Mm-hmm. The game is there. Just needs to be strung together for 2 weeks, if you like.
I'm
not
concerned.
So okay.
I'm actually more confident in Team right now. Although he's not the player he was 2 years ago, there are so many glimpses and flashes, and he wants this so bad, and he's getting so frustrated with himself, even when he's just getting outplayed by an amazing player. Like Cilic serving down aces, no one can do anything about that. You know, that's how he won the US Open with just amazing attacking tennis. And Team's getting frustrated, and I'm like, there's not much you can do right now. Like, you're not where you were 2 years ago, and you're playing really well. But I can see how much he cares so much, and I just don't see that desire and passion in Osaka right now. And she might find it again. But the competition is getting bigger.
But I agree with everything you've said. Mm-hmm. But for those reasons, I think Osaka could win a major next year, for example, or at some point in it. Why not?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, we've seen Scott Iga, Kim Wen-jeng. I think is not far away from being a slam contender.
As long as they leave Wimbledon to Jabor, I'm good.
Oh yeah, if Ons doesn't win Wimbledon next year, I'm gonna cry.
Listen, I agree with everything you've said, Jethro, but my conclusion to all of those arguments is actually that Osaka has a better chance than Team, and the reason is my concern with Team is that it's not just a case of he just needs to work hard, he just needs to keep going, because I think he can do all those things and still won't work.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with Osaka, I think if she can do those things, then she will be a contender at every hard court major that she plays for the rest of her career. If she can get that together again, so I think it's really easier to fix in a way, at least in terms of the tennis, for Osaka than it is Team. So, I mean, yeah.
I think a better comparison to how you justified it is actually on the men's side, Medvedev. Like watching him in the Australian Open this year, obviously won the US Open last year. He was a few games away from winning back-to-back hardcourt majors, and you would have thought, well, this guy's going to dominate hardcourt slams when Djokovic goes for good. And now he's not in a good way. Like that loss to Kyrgios was awful. Like he played dreadfully, and I know that I completely respect that Kyrgios was fantastic that day, but Medvedev, I mean, you watch him. The way he played last year, like he was unbeatable, and like you watch the way he beat Kyrgios in Melbourne this year. There wasn't a lot of difference between Kyrgios in Melbourne and Kyrgios in the US Open in those times of performances.
The other thing for Medvedev is
his serve is awful.
Yeah, but the other thing for Medvedev is he goes in as a contender at 2 of the 4 majors, but it's not like he's there at all 4 at least. I mean, maybe he could get it together on grass one day, but for me it's 2, and we've just had one just go by, if you like, and we've got another one on the horizon, so it's not long before he's to get it together. I still see Medvedev competing at the hardcourt majors for the next few years, and
of course.
And do you think he's going to win another major?
Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah,
I hope he does as well, because I think he's really good for tennis.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And after that Australian Open final, I mean, he obviously had the emotional press conference afterwards where he's obviously quite down, and sometimes understandably in some respects. I think it's there for him. And what I said after, I think I tweeted it, something like, don't worry, Daniel, your time will come. Thank you. Thank you very much. I said, something like I feel sorry for you today, Daniel. Some of the situations with the crowd are a bit harsh. We all know about that. We all agree with that. But it was like, don't worry, your time will come. Rafa's at the end of his career, if you like, but you've got many years to come, and you'll get the love of the crowd. However, at that stage, I didn't anticipate the 6 or 8 months he's had since, which has been rough. Yeah,
it has been tough. I think I wouldn't actually rule him out of Wimbledon.
No,
good actually. I would be very surprised if he wins the French Open ever. I think he might get to a semi-final when he's playing really well, but
or the draw opens up.
You've got to think
like
about
a lucky draw like Casper got this year.
Exactly. But you've got to think about all the contenders at Roland Garros. When you don't even consider Nadal and Djokovic, you've got Alcaraz, you've got Ruud, you've got I think Sinner. Baez is looking quite. Well, not right now. Not right now.
We are 35 minutes into this chat, and finally we've got Baez in.
I will say his clay court season was amazing, and should have been.
How many French Opens is he going to win? 5 or 10?
15, one more than Rafa. You got Tsitsipas, obviously. Brunei looks good on there.
Tsitsipas, by the way, so I'm glad you brought him up because actually his doldrums is lengthier than the Medvedev's in my opinion. Maybe they've not been quite as deep, if you like. He's still getting to quarters and semis at big tournaments, and he was in a final of a hard court Masters recently. But
he's just qualified for Turin as well.
Has he? Yeah.
It's really weird with Tsitsipas because it seems like he's not had a good year, but he also has had a very good year. He's like one of the top match winners of the year. Yeah. It's really strange.
I was talking to somebody on the show recently about, I think it was Vanch actually, and he was along the lines of, listen, he's fine, he's doing well, he's this ranking, he's this way in the race, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but since the French Open, going into that final against Djokovic, and obviously when he was 2 sets to love up, you think that this guy's going to win 3, 4, 5 majors, and he's probably going to win the French Open today, and he's going to win the French Open again in the near future, blah, blah, blah. And since that final, he's not been in a major final since. He was in the semis, I think, in Australia this year, and he had a really good win against Sinner. But that apart, I don't remember watching Tsitsipas in the last 18 months thinking, that's the Tsitsipas I saw going into the French Open final.
I've seen glimpses. There have been some very
By the way, I tipped him to win the US Open, so I'm saying all of this, and of course he went out the first round in New York.
I picked him to reach. I think I predicted Fritz to beat Tsitsipas in the quarterfinal, and they both lost. And they both lost in the first round. Oh, my US Open bracket was shocking. But yeah, there's been some very good performances from Tsitsipas this year. I mean, Australia, off the back of elbow surgery, destroys.
He won Monte Carlo this year as well.
Exactly.
But that kind of went under the radar. That's probably the Masters 1000 that went most under the radar, if it makes sense. It was the first back on clay. It was also a tournament where Alcaraz went out early, Djokovic went out early, Nadal wasn't there. Tsitsipas wins it, and he still struggled to win actually. But
anyway. Lots of people give that match with Schwartzman was crazy. But lots of people give. I don't know if they're giving Tsitsipas or Fokina a hard time here, but they kind of diss the fact that Davidovich Fokina was Tsitsipas's final opponent. I think Fokina's brilliant on all surfaces as well.
Yeah, he's very tough to.
I think he's really good, and he is very underrated as well. And like Tsitsipas against Sinner at the Australian Open was extraordinary. Took a set off Medvedev in the semi-final. Watched him in the Labour Cup last week. Probably should have been in TFO. Unbelievable against Diego. I know Diego's in dreadful form, but
Diego won 3 games.
Yeah, he was so good. There was one point where Tsitsipas had Diego on the ropes, and then Schwartzman hitting like an amazing defensive shot, and Tsitsipas ended up hitting this crazy half-volleyed winner from the baseline, leaning back. So I think it's still there.
Let's talk about the Labour Cup just for a couple of minutes because we haven't really done much, and it's a week now since that happened. But Hanya, what were your thoughts on the tournament, if we can call it that?
In general, or this?
In general, yeah. The one. No. This particular tournament we just had. So last weekend.
I have some major concerns with the format of the tournament.
Okay.
In
general. The 3 points on a Sunday, 2 on a Saturday, and 1. If you want to be a serious tournament, I think
it's tactical So I think they put like.
I know what they want to do. They want to make it exciting still on the Sunday. So
I know,
you can be
but
10 points behind and still win.
I think also more tactical, I guess, from Team World's point of view, in the sense that they don't have the insane players to pick from.
Right.
So they've got to
pick.
pick like, even though Diego's form doesn't warrant him being picked in this team, but his ranking is so much better than so many other people.
Sure.
My main problem is where are the girls?
Yeah.
And where are the top doubles players?
Yeah.
Why are they not included in this? And
Socks basically.
yeah, like I think people, like the matches are the least exciting thing about the Labour Cup, which again brings me to the point of the tournament. Why are we having this? And yeah, that's basically my.
I think if you had, let's say, the top three from top three men, top three women, let's say from Europe, top three men, top three women from that year in the race, if you like, and then have a couple of wild cards, perhaps. Let's say it's in London. Let's have Andy Murray there, for example, or Federer's retiring, or whatever. But I think and then you have the women there too. And yeah, let's go for it.
Make it through the matches throughout the entire week.
Ooh, yeah, but no, I don't want to. I'm a fan of reducing the tennis calendar, personally.
I think its timing is horrible. I think it needs to be at the end of the year to wrap up.
But then there's Davis Cup and
after Davis Cup.
I think of every 2 years. Every 2 years. So you've got the golf equivalent, which is taken very seriously, is every 2 years. And I think if you Ryder Cup, exactly. But that's a serious competition. The Labour Cup, I think, would like to get there, if you like. But
it's an exhibition, but not really. It's a
by the way,
exhibition.
tell you who really doesn't like the Labour Cup is Jack.
Really?
Jack, yeah.
From Popcorn?
Jack from Popcorn. There's only one Jack.
There's only
one Jack. And I said to him, I sort of was tongue-in-cheek, but he took it, let's say, very seriously. I said, was Federer's last match against Hurkacz, or will it be the doubles that was then coming up that night, I think? And he said, Hurkacz is his last match. That's it.
Interesting.
And he was fairly steady. But he did, I think it was on his podcast, which you should all download, by the way, if you get a chance. He said something along the lines of that he was sort of begrudgingly giving the Labour Cup a little bit of more serious thought, let's say, given what had just occurred, and obviously with Team World winning and blah blah blah. But I think, I think there were other people that said the same. I think it has an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, we get some of these sort of fake press conferences before where Federer's there saying, "I've got to talk to Bjorn about this," and you're thinking, but it seems like he's acting. It doesn't feel real when he says those things.
And they said it was there to increase the tennis fan base, but they go to cities where there are already tennis tournaments every year. They go to London 3 times in the USA because they have tons of tournaments. How is this expanding? The tickets are super expensive.
Yeah.
They're only targeting a certain.
So they went to Chicago last year. There's Geneva.
Yeah.
I think South America.
Vancouver, I think.
Vancouver's next year. Yeah. I think some people say they should go to South America.
Yeah,
that would be really cool. I think for me the main issue with it is the disparity between the Team Europe selection of players and I bear in mind.
Well, just one.
I know, but they did have.
But that can change.
A one-lead Federer, Nadal who wasn't fit at all, and Murray who's obviously doing great for himself, but. You think who they could have had it? And I'm sure the Russians were banned. I don't think they officially said, but I think they could have had Alcaraz, who said no, Sinner, Medvedev, Rublev.
I think Team Russia needs to be Russia needs to represent Team Europe, not Europe, and that will even up the competition a bit.
That would be good.
Yeah, and I think the main problem again this year was were people watching for the Labour Cup or were people watching for Federer and to watch his last match, and that's the identity crisis as well. How long is the Labour Cup going to continue after these three no longer show up to the events?
Right, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, you just touched on Rafa there. What are we thinking about the rest of the year for Nadal? Are we gonna, Hanya, do you think we're going to see Nadal on the court this year competing?
I'm not the biggest Nadal fan, but I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Any thoughts,
I
Jethro?
think he has some personal problems. That's why he left early.
Yeah, his wife's very pregnant, so I mean, like,
Very pregnant, ladies and gentlemen. Very pregnant.
I mean, should be. I
I
think
don't
the
know
baby's.
what's very pregnant.
I don't know either, Hanya.
What is that?
Don't know.
I'm just saying
Jethro,
what I've
Jethro
read
allegedly
on,
speaks
I'm just
English.
saying what I've read on Twitter, and they're probably all Nadal fans, but so he's got a baby on the way, very, very soon.
Yeah.
I mean, he's qualified for the finals,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
so I think
But
he'll play there.
will he play?
I think he'll play there, but I don't think he'll play anyone else. And I think
I think he might play Paris, personally.
maybe he's so far we've got Nadal, Alcaraz, Rubin, Tsitsipas, all now qualified.
Yeah.
So Zverev injured again, so he won't. I mean, I don't know how Zverev is 8th in the race. I think that kind of
Yeah,
says what a
yeah.
mockery the rankings are right
Yeah.
now, because he hasn't won a tournament this year. He's reached one final,
Yeah.
which he lost to Bublik, and he
Have we seen him since?
Never
the
seen
late
Roland Garros.
season?
haven't seen him
No.
since what
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
or June, sorry.
Yeah.
And he's 8th in the race. Like how?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, obviously Wimbledon has a huge role there. But anyway, regarding Rafa, I'll just sort of wrap this up with regarding him. It's 50-50 anyway. I think he could play Paris-Bercy, he could play the end of year finals, but there was also the element of it's indoor, it's hard. Djokovic is firing at the moment. I do think that does play a role. I mean, we saw him skip the US Open a couple of years ago, so he could be ready for the French, if you
Yeah.
like. That was obviously during the COVID period, but trust me, if they suddenly put clay courts in New York, he would have been there 2
Probably.
years ago. So I do think that may play into his thinking right now. And by the way, another element to his thinking might well be, we saw how Federer in 2016 basically said, I'm going to go in, because he was touch and go for the US Open, and his team said, let's keep our powder dry, let's have a good solid block of 3 or 4 months of training, and we'll go into that Australian Open fit and firing. And of course he won that year.
Yeah.
And maybe his team might be getting, and Nadal right now is more or less the same age as Federer was then, so they might be thinking the same regarding Australia. So it's 50-50 for me. I would love to see him in Paris-Bercy. I'd love to see him go toe-to-toe with Alcaraz and Djokovic there, and whoever else is around. Sinner, is Sinner going to qualify? I guess he
We're
will.
not sure yet.
Should do. I think Sinner Hurkacz should be the next to qualify. Fritz.
Oh, or is he 11?
Oh.
I think depending on the coming tournament.
See, I think Sinner's like 13th in the race.
Is he
No,
really?
he's 10.
I think he's 10th in the rankings, but I think he's 13th in the race. I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm not sure.
But if he was, let's say he wins a tournament and then he maybe gets to the final in Paris or something like that.
Oh yeah, he should win Sofia. I'm interested to see what happens, because we've got Musetti and Brune there as
How
well.
much of a chance does he have at the finals if he qualifies?
Oh, he's one of the.
I'd say he's got a chance anywhere, really.
Yeah, right. If there's 8 players there, well, I say if there's going to be 8 players,
Yes.
they'll find 8. They'll
Hopefully.
find 8 somewhere, and he will be in the top half of that 8. I would suggest. It's amazing that he hasn't qualified already, or he's not even in the top 8 already. Just as you said, the rankings, etc. So he would be. You have Djokovic probably would go in as favourite, but it's not a tournament he's done well at in the last 3 or 4 years, Djokovic, so I don't think he's been in a final for 3 or 4 years at least. So he would be there along with Alcaraz, I guess. Is there anyone I'm missing? I don't think Casper Ruud would be in the top 3 or 4 as favourites going into
No, not
into the
no, I
tournament.
wouldn't. I mean,
Even if Rafa's there, I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily expect Rafa to make the semis. So yeah, he would be. That's what you wanted to hear, right?
Yeah.
He would be one of the 3 or 4 favourites.
I would
for
say
me.
so, yeah.
Because he didn't play last year, did he? Just substituted.
He
for
substituted.
Berry.
He was- yeah.
And of course, this is going to be in Italy. We need Sinner there, man.
We do need Sinner there, and I mean, see, Berrettini's been very unlucky with a lot
injury.
this year. Actually, he's had a really unfortunate year. 'Cause
Yeah.
Had that injury.
Yeah.
Well, he's had multiple injuries, but he had that one that put him out for the whole clay season
Yeah.
But he came back to win Queens.
and Stuttgart.
And Stuttgart.
Back to
He
back.
was on a path to me to Wimbledon
Yeah.
final again,
Same.
but then he gets COVID on the eve of the tournament.
I mean, the poor guy, and he's going through a breakup throughout all of
But
this
that
as
was
well.
like earlier. Since the grass season.
She
they
cut him
were
out.
already-
She cut him out of her picture.
I
Didn't
know.
she? Anyway,
Terrible.
that's for a different pod.
Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
so he's been unfortunate, and I still consider Berrettini a top 10 player. But
He's
yeah.
the gatekeeper, I think, that everyone sort of goes, you've got to beat him to win a major, and if you beat him, you're doing well. If you lose to him, you're not
Yeah.
necessarily doing that badly. He's there.
He's your classic top 10 player who beats everyone that they
Except
should beat.
Djokovic
Maybe
and
maybe
Nadal,
the
yeah.
occasional surprise loss, but pretty much beats everyone they should.
I was surprised in New York at his loss. I thought he would beat Casper
He was
Ruud.
rubbish.
Do you think Sinner is gonna win many majors?
Oh,
Yeah, he'll be more than a one major.
definitely. Multiple majors, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna pass Alcaraz in numbers.
You're not liking
I don't
this.
know.
You're
I
not,
don't know. Like, Sinner matches up really well against him.
Alcaraz is winning more majors than Sinner.
Do you reckon?
I think so.
You think Alcaraz is
Yeah, I
winning,
think-
even though you prefer Sinner?
I prefer Sinner, but I think Alcaraz, he's already ahead in the race. So
He's won. It's one.
Yeah.
He's
That, we've got that race just
Yeah.
finishing, if you like, and another one just beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I
But what about
I can't-
Felix,
I
by the way?
can't really-
We need to
I
give him a
love
bit of
Felix.
love.
Oh,
Yeah.
Felix is great.
I love him.
He's
I
had a
think
tough year.
they listen again. I'm committing to this. I did a show about 6 weeks ago about the new big three, and it was kind of like skipping a generation because obviously we've had the Tsitsipas and Medvedev. Team I know is a bit older, but he often gets branded in that group, if you like.
Team was like between Zverev,
Exactly.
Medvedev, Tsitsipas, and the Raonic, Dimitrov.
Right,
Nishikori.
okay, yeah,
He's
yeah,
always
yeah.
in the middle, so he's
Yeah.
like the lost gen, I suppose. No,
Yeah,
not really.
but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But I regarding that previous generation in terms of Irish and stuff, they were just obliterated by the big three, really,
Yeah.
and just never got close. The next 3 or 4, if you like, Medvedev, Zverev, etc., they were sort of threatening to, but I think that borrowed time is an exaggeration. But I remember Zverev when he beat Alcaraz this year said, "Listen, you're coming past us very soon, so in a way, I need this win today."
That was personal. He was not happy that Alcaraz was getting the
Yeah.
prime time. He was getting the prime time.
But I think he's
spots.
also right because I think they are coming past.
Oh, yeah, no,
And
I think-
these 3, Felix included, are coming past
He gave
very
an
soon, if
interview
not
basically
already.
saying he thought I think like he wasn't like being malicious really, but he was kind of saying like he's getting the main courts over me and like he's getting like he was basically thought like Alcaraz was getting more hype than Zverev, and Zverev was very upset about it. And then
As
I
he
thought
should.
stop whining, like he's clearly more exciting and
Yeah.
a better person than you.
I mean, I
and then
think-
Zverev did beat him, and he played very well to beat him.
I
so.
think the next big player is not gonna be from the Zverev generation. It's gonna be from the Alcaraz generation.
Sebastian Baez, yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Felix, let's have a quick chat about Felix because has he had a good year or not?
I thought it would be better when I
Yeah.
saw him at the Australian Open. I thought this could be the year.
One Rotterdam just after
One
that as well.
Rotterdam.
He should be better. He should be doing better. Like I think he should be way ahead than where he is now.
I feel like we've been saying that for a long time, and he was
It's been
kind of like
it's been a
Alcaraz.
year of progress, I would say, just not as fast as maybe
Like-
I hoped.
Like Alcaraz, he made headlines on the Challenger Tour when he was 15. People were like, oh my god, this is amazing teenager who's winning matches on the Challenger Tour. And then his like kind of, I guess, progression has been slower. But like he reached like the top of the game when he was like 18. Not obviously the top, but like around the top of the men's game. And
He plays better in teams events.
he's amazing. Yeah, ATP Cup this year. It was
I know
incredible.
he did well in Davis
Like-
Cup. He
like
does well in Davis Cup and
Yeah.
Labour Cup. Like,
He loves that.
Yeah.
Support
Team
network.
spirit in general.
Speaking of that, Shapovalov's having a good week for once.
Okay.
He's into the final.
Okay, because he was on a losing streak at one point this year as well, right? You see, okay, so regarding Dennis, I think that the talent is there, but there's so many things that are still missing for me. Felix is ahead of him in terms of, if you said to me one of those two is winning a major next year, which one is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Felix.
I'm not saying Felix will, but he would be, because
Yeah.
also on grass, Felix will be. I know Dennis too, actually, but Felix, I think will win a Wimbledon
But
one
that's the
day.
thing. I think if you said Auger-Aliassime will win one of the majors next year, any of them, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that. But with Dennis, I'd be like, it's Wimbledon or none, because I don't see him winning Australia. Like, feel like we saw the way Felix pushed Nadal at French Open. Like, he's good player, and that's like, for me, like I'd always thought Felix was all right on clay, and then I saw the way he played against Nadal.
He surprised me that day. Yeah.
And then I thought it was very similar to how Sinner did against Djokovic at Wimbledon. Obviously, two surfaces that both like these two like, legends are very good at getting pushed by these next generation. So I mean, like, there's no hope lost for Felix. I just think he's still figuring things out. But I hope he doesn't quit because he's great to watch.
Felix,
I'm not sure if he's gonna win the major next year. I hope so, but
Next year's a bit early, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, I mean he needs to pick up the pace before he gets overshadowed by Alcaraz. So-
Baez.
Baez, of course.
How old is Baez?
21.
Okay.
No, obviously I'm joking. He did look very he's not in a good way right now, but he's looked promising this year. I actually have a feeling Sinner's going to win Australia, but I also think Djokovic is going to turn up and be so motivated.
Yeah.
So I'd probably pick either Djokovic or Sinner.
Not Alcaraz?
No, I mean I'm not saying he won't win it. But then again, I said Sinner was going to get to the final in New York.
I messed up in New York.
He almost did.
You almost did. It was really funny on our group chat. Everyone was going on about how amazing the match was, and then like Owen's actually a massive Alcaraz fan. He doesn't admit to it, but he is a huge Alcaraz fan. So everyone was really excited.
By the way, I met Owen's mother this year. It was
did
really
you?
cool, yeah, in Paris.
Very nice, yeah.
Hello, Owen's mum.
And then we had Hanya and Ashley just like in tears on the chat, like so sad about Sinner losing. It was interesting. I was like, we're already getting like a massive like rivalry. We've all got like our own fan bases in our.
I'm not saying his hype is not deserved. It's very justified. I'm just saying people need to also think of Sinner.
So why is Alcaraz rubbish, Hanya?
I'm not. I did not say that.
Yeah. Okay, who are we missing? Anyone on the women's side that we really should have talked about? We've touched on Ons. I'm sorry we haven't given much love to Iga, but Iga's amazing.
I think it speaks for itself. She's unbelievable.
Who else are we missing? We've had a few, obviously, there's a few players on the women's side. Kontaveit, of course, has been in action this week, am I right?
Yeah.
She's been playing.
Mayar reached the semi-final, I think.
Who?
Mayar Sharif.
Oh, Mayar Sharif.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm not sure if she won. She probably lost. I'm not sure.
We touched on Emma, of course. Who else should we really give some attention to?
Kim Wen-Jane, I think.
Tell me something.
Just
give me something.
I just think she's awesome. 19 and already inside the top 30 now. I think she lost.
Did she play Iga at Roland Garros this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Took a set.
That's right. The only person. Yeah, right.
There's just something about her she's got a very cool aura about her, plays really, really great tennis. Just seems like a nailed on future star for me. I think she'll be competing for Slam soon. Probably next year actually.
Okay, cool. Okay, we haven't got anything else to talk about, I don't think. We've talked about every single player that I can think of for about 2 or 3 minutes off the top of my head. I'm sure that somebody will be thinking when they watch this, what about my player? What about the world number 133 that
we haven't talked about Cam Norrie, of course. We've got to please Norrie Nation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a quick few minutes on Cam. Has he reached his ceiling? Is there more to come from Cam?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's more to come. I watched him obviously at Wimbledon this year against Goffin, and brilliant.
Do you think he's gonna win Queens?
Yeah, I think he could win Queens. Like his serve's got a lot better. The way he he's like good on all surfaces as well, and like the way he hits his backhand, you get a really good appreciation for it when you watch up close. I mean, I was like in line with the net, and he's like getting like that high over the net every time.
I know, but it just looks a bit awkward.
I know, but I've really grown to love it. I used to think, it's horrible backhand. I see everyone trashing it now, and I'm like, I love it. It's different. I like a bit of different.
I mean, he's obviously got a Masters 1000 on his belt already, winning Indian Wells.
Yes.
A year or so ago. But he got to Wimbledon semi-final this year, but again, draws and all that sort of thing.
I was expecting more in New York. I thought he was going to beat Rublev.
We didn't talk about the Russians.
Oh,
Yeah.
We talked about Medvedev.
Okay, Rublev. I think that was 50-50, and I wasn't. Listen, I get lots of things wrong in tennis, but I wasn't shocked that Rublev won.
No, neither.
Yeah.
Neither.
I like Rublev. I like all the Russians, to be honest, but I think Rublev just needs to support his psychologist, basically sports psychologist, because he's inflicting actual physical damage on himself. Like compare him to the Sinner mentality,
or Federer, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's my only issue. Like I feel it's getting the best of.
Yeah, he really reached boiling point again
Yeah.
in that quarter final with Tiafoe.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because I mean I watched kind of like some of the behind the scenes ATP videos and the interviews, and Rublev is like the most charming, sweet, funny, genuine person. Like he's so lovely and calm and looks like everyone's really good friends with him. And then you see him on court and he's so angry at himself. And it's just really sad. He's way too harsh on himself.
Well, one thing I like as well, he likes to watch tennis. You sometimes, like in Monte Carlo, you just see him. He just won his previous match, or just won his match, and there he is watching tennis. And he sort of, I think, in a way, perhaps the sport consumes him a bit too much. I mean, going back to Roger and Rafa, and I know they're legends of the game, but they also, talk about losing it happens.
Yeah.
And once you realise that could happen and can happen. Embrace is too strong a word, but you certainly have to accept it. And
I think Iga went through something similar. I mean, she was saying earlier this year, I think that last year she would lose a match and she would just be crying.
This is Hanya, by the way. I know you went Iga and you went.
Sorry, you just look so similar now. No, but she went through something like this. Said that she was crying after every match and like she lost, and it was like so much to take. And I think taking on the sports psychologist, it's really balanced her out. And like if you look at her now, like her emotional state in matches is great. Like, even against Cornet at Wimbledon, she didn't break a racket, she didn't lose her temper, she just was like...
And she's a monster in finals.
Oh well, I won 37 matches in a row. I lost on my worst surface, isn't the end of the world.
So I have one last question.
A question?
Alcaraz and Sinner.
Okay.
Here we go.
Describe each one in one word.
For Alcaraz, it's unbelievable. And what do I mean? And I'll address it in a second. But what
One
do
word.
I know, but I want to elaborate on that one word. I'm sticking to the one word, unbelievable. But it's just because.
Exception.
Yeah.
Is that your word for Alcaraz?
I think Alcaraz is
That's
phenomenal.
more than one. Oh, phenomenal. Okay. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sinner is top.
Top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like. Top.
I'm gonna go electric for Alcaraz.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's a good one.
And
Damn. I wish I thought of electric. Okay, I'll switch this. I'll put electric in my mouth, and then you'll have unbelievable.
I'm gonna go unbreakable for Sinner.
Nice.
Not saying you can't break his serve, but more as in mentally you can't break him.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
I really do love that rivalry.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it.
But I haven't got a word for sinner.
Should be easy.
Yeah, but I've got many, but none of them quite do it justice. The only word that comes into my head right now is creative, but that's because I think he does create opportunities for himself, and I think he is clever,
He's
smart,
a problem solver.
problem solver. Yeah, but that's
Alcaraz is fire, Sinner is ice.
Yeah, that's probably the most perfect way to
Yeah.
explain it as a
on that.
yin and yang. You know.
On that note, thank you for stopping by. Thank you, Hanya, as well, for
Thank you
stopping
for
by.
having us.
And thank you too as well for stopping by. And we'll be in touch again soon. Take care.
Bye.